Beep bop, beep bop, beep bop.
Can we give a warm welcome to Asta Star?
The lectern there good for you?
Good morning.
Good
morning.
Toastmasters. Evaluations. They're going to sing to us in the background because they're always there, aren't they? People are always evaluating us on something. Our bosses are evaluating us. Our children are evaluating us. Our friends are evaluating us. Are you feeling okay today? You look kind of, Isn't that an evaluation that your friends give you? Everybody's evaluating you. The person in the grocery store is evaluating how you pull out the checkbook. Do we have those anymore? How you pull out your credit card from your purse to pay the bills, and if you're mondering to do it or not. Plus the people in the back of the line are standing there wondering how quickly you're gonna get through your stuff. So everybody's evaluating us all the time. Now, when I was a child, I did not receive good evaluations. Like, ooh. You know, I'm surprised I'm actually standing up here right now because the evaluations that I got as a child really had me thinking that I wasn't gonna make anything in this world. And then in 1999, somebody said, you would make an excellent Toastmaster. I'm standing as a portrait photographer photographing an older gentleman, and he's in his 60s. And he's looking at me while I'm fixing him all up and straight to get his portrait taken. Then he looks at his wife, then he looks at me again. I'm sitting back there at the back, looking through my lens, trying to focus in on him, laughing at his total disregard for the pose I just put him in. And then he turns to his wife and says, she would make an excellent Toastmaster. I had never heard of Toastmasters in my entire life. I had no idea what Toastmasters was, but I was like, I would be excellent at something? What is this thing I'd be excellent at? So when I got home, I picked up my heavy yellow pages, for those of us who remember. I licked my finger, remember, because those pages would get stuck there so thin. T-O-A-S-T. I went through, found the first one, called them up for that voicemail. If you want to come to Toastmasters, our meetings are. And I just showed up. And it was actually there that I saw evaluations. And I fell in love with what they could do. So this is what Toastmasters says about evaluating. Now we evaluate people to motivate them to do better. And as I'm thinking about this speech last night, I'm thinking, wow, if I evaluated my daughter a little differently, she might be more motivated to do her homework a little better, right? So this is what I want to talk to you guys about evaluating here. Now, who's ever received a bad evaluation in their life? How do you feel? How do you feel when that happens? Who's ever received a phenomenal evaluation? Yeah? How do you feel? On top of the world. It makes a difference, right? So we evaluate to provide immediate feedback, according to Toastmasters. This gives us information that we can use to assimilate in some way. We also evaluate to offer methods for improvement. But have you ever heard an evaluation where somebody comes up and evaluates you and says, well, you did this wrong, and you did this wrong, and if you did this, you'd improve, and if you did this, you'd improve, and if you did this, that would be better. And how do you feel when you get that type of evaluation?
It's all negative.
But they're trying to evaluate you to improve, right? So I really wanted us to consider how we're offering methods to improve. What it is that we really want to do is we want to build and maintain self-esteem. That's the main objective when we're evaluating, to build the person up so that they'll come up here and stand up again. Now, even with my incredible evaluations that I got when I first started Toastmasters, which has led me to get this Advanced Communicator Silver today, I have to tell you, I have still maundered my way through. It's been 19 years to get me here. And that's because even though my evaluations were good, my personal self-esteem from before needed a lot of improvement, right? So it's a matter of really looking at the person's self-esteem and finding some things. And sometimes I find an evaluation can be better if we give very little methods for improvement, because sometimes just honoring the person is enough to give them enough strength to come up. To come up a second time is improvement enough versus not coming up at all again. Have you guys ever seen in your time here somebody who comes, does 2 speeches and never comes back? No? Yes? Right. There are people who give a couple speeches and then they never come back because they didn't get that evaluation, especially icebreakers. Those are the most important speeches, just to say, you did a phenomenal job just by standing up. Just standing up here is a lot. So these are Toastmasters here, Toastmasters International's way. And they really say that when the evaluator talks, the speaker should listen. Have you ever had somebody talk to you where it's hard to listen to them? I have, just the other day, just yesterday as a matter of fact, I was wanting to make an appointment with my daughter's school principal. And I asked a question, and the lady I was making the appointment with just came back. She was really aggressive in her answer to me. And I noticed, I was like, ooh, I don't want to listen to her. I just want to fight, everything closed up. All my boundaries came up, and I just wanted to fight this lady. I was like, I've seen this lady for 3 years. I've never had a bad word with her. And so I'm thinking, what is this? What caused me to stop, right? So when you evaluate, you want to make sure that you're evaluating in such a way where people will be open and receptive to hearing what you say. Because if they can't hear you, there's no improvement that can be made. Now, I'm going to talk about what Toastmasters says, and then I'm going to add what I learned a little bit. First way to evaluate effectively, Steve did it incredibly. He's been trained, I guess, by this group. He came up to me and he said, before the speech, he came up to me and he talked to me. He's like, what are your objectives? What are the manual's objectives? And then we read the evaluation guideline, which I provided for him. And then he asked me, were there any concerns that I had, anything I was looking for? Which was really how I'm bringing my personality into this very dry Toastmasters International outline that I have to follow in. And then during the speech, he's going to show me that he was interested. I'm giving you my feedback here. This is what you're going to do. And he's going to put himself in the position of me as a speaker while he does that. And he's taking notes right now, so I see him taking notes, and other people, I'm like, ooh, people are interested in what I'm saying. And that interest helps me have more energy to want to give to you here. So that's good for the evaluator to do. Now, the evaluator really wants to choose his words carefully, because if I'm somebody with low self-esteem, as I was years ago, anything could cause me to never come back in here again, right? So he wants to really choose his words carefully, because this is a delicate matter. As speakers, we're putting ourselves out here to be very vulnerable. We're putting ourselves out here to have all of those faces out there to criticize us. And some of us already criticize ourselves without all of you faces, right? So anything that the evaluator can do to really make us open and receptive to hear, to improve our self-esteem, to help us keep standing back up here is going to be what we really want to do as evaluators. and choose your words carefully for that. Always, always evaluate the speech, not the person. How could the speech have been stronger? And there's some people in here that do this phenomenally. How could the speech have been stronger? Not what I didn't like about you. It's very easy to take an evaluation personally instead of professionally, as it should be delivered. And, of course, promote self-esteem. Promote self-esteem, promote self-esteem all the time. Me as a mother, I'm seeing all kinds of ways where I could promote more self-esteem in my evaluations of how quickly she puts on her socks, right? Simple things. So as a person, I'm growing, right? But our evaluations are not only in here, but they're evaluations everywhere that we go. And we want other people to be delicate with our self-esteem, so we want to be delicate with their self-esteems. Really avoid being disingenuous, right? Have you ever heard somebody come up and say, oh, you did this and this and this and it was wonderful, and you were like, I don't think the person was even listening to my speech because that wasn't anything I did, right? Honest evaluations are upbeat and encouraging, and that's what brings this club, Colorado Orators, that's what makes this club such a powerful club, because the evaluations in this club really inspire community, camaraderie, love, connection, and self-esteem. That's why this is such a powerful club, and that's why I belong to Colorado Orators.
Yeah.
You will see that clubs that don't do this well aren't successful clubs. So this is one of the most important things. Now, in closing, Toastmaster says connect your opening statement. Steve, this is going to be the trick for you. Connect your opening statement to my speech. Summarize the key points that I made here. Give a personal story or an example. This was something that was really confusing for me, but when I go to district and higher levels, the personal story evaluations are the ones that the judges are always bringing in, because you bring something from the story and then make it personal, and those evaluators usually win. And then encourage the listeners to really apply what they heard and what they learned. And sometimes that's just a short little conversation afterwards to help the listeners really understand, when you give them their notes and everything back so that they can read that. Now, for me personally, that's the end of that. For me personally, the best evaluations I've ever received, again, are those Oreo cookie ones. We all know which ones those are, right?
No.
The sandwich ones, where you open up by something good that the evaluator said, you give something trivial, because people can only work on one thing at a time, right? We try to work on too many things and we're like all over the place and we can't do it. So you give one trivial thing that could make a big impact for them to improve on. That improves their self-esteem. It gives them something that's not overwhelming and overpowering to do. It's something they can work on, something manageable. And then you cover that up with another positive. So you have an Oreo cookie, you have the sandwich, you have positive, one little thing, the filling to work on, something else positive. And when it all comes down to it, the only reason to evaluate people, honestly, is to bring them back up here so that we can motivate and inspire everybody to continue to improve and continue to get better. And I look forward to this club continuing to grow with our new area director, our wonderful president, the board, and everything that you guys are about here. Your vision and your mission in this club specifically is to build self-esteem, friendship, and community. And that's the best thing about this group.